Hello music lovers, welcome to this channel. Thank you so much for dropping by. I'm going to be giving a tribute to Eddie Money in this one of the major greats that we've lost here in the past few weeks. Ric Ocasek of the Cars, just lost Ginger Baker from Cream, and who knows who else is going to be coming next. I mean, lately I've been reading these stories about, like Rod Stewart, for instance. Did you read about him? His wife was talking about how he had a really big cancer scare a couple of years back. It was very hush-hush. We didn't really know anything about it, but he's been dealing with some stuff. David Paich of Toto, he had to leave the road. He wasn't on their most recent tour, and I don't know that he's ever going to be back in the band. We're losing him, not losing him, but you know what I mean. It all kind of relates to the video I just made about the old timers. And who else? Well, Eddie Van Halen, what's going on with him? You know, we got David Lee Roth saying that he's the face of Van Halen now, and I've got a whole Van Halen video that I'm going to be doing soon. So I'll talk about what's going on in the Van Halen camp. But the thing is that we just, we're getting to a point where we're starting to lose these guys. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about Eddie Money. And I'm going to talk about generally just, things that come to mind when I think about Eddie. Just kind of like reminisce over his career. If there's anything that you've got that you want to add to it, drop it down below and let me know what it is about Eddie that you liked. Actually, I made a video about Eddie Money last year when he came out with his reality show, Real Money. And, I'm just not a fan of reality shows, period. So when you've got a rock star being followed around by cameras and these fake storylines, like, let's take the family and go horseback riding, Eddie Money horseback riding or whatever, stupid shit. I could say the same thing for Gene Simmons' show and Ozzy Osbourne's show and a bunch of these shows. I just think they're a lot of crap, and that's what I was basically talking about. So yeah, I gave Eddie some shit. I don't regret anything I said, and I knew as soon as his cancer became public that I was going to get some shit for it. And sure enough, he's dying, you piece of shit. There's a special place in hell waiting for you. Well, at least it's special. Do I get room service? Is that what we're talking about? That would be kind of cool. Maybe I get an air conditioner. I don't know. He gave a lot to charities and was really out to help the troops. He was making a difference in the world. Who are you to judge? I think he was very brave and courageous to share with the world real medical issues before he passed away. Like I said, I made this video before he got sick, and it was more about the reality show in general, not saying anything about Eddie as a person. Yeah, from what I have heard, Eddie is a really cool guy. As a matter of fact, he reminds me of some people in my family. He's just got this real kind of way about him. He's from Brooklyn, and so am I. He was born in Brooklyn 20 years before I was. And was it 20 years? Yeah, 20 years. And that's right, I'm 50 and he's 70. 20 years, I'll be 70. All right, let's get off this topic. So Eddie Money carved himself out a nice little career. A lot of artists from the 70s and 80s would have wished that they had 10 plus years worth of hits. And that's what Eddie had. He started off in the late 70s, and he was still putting out hits through the 80s. And that's a lot to say. Not everybody can do that. And he didn't have exactly the greatest voice. He had kind of a husky kind of a voice, and he sounded like he was from Brooklyn. You couldn't really take the Brooklyn out of Eddie. And, he did very, very well. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that I remember about Eddie was his name. It screamed Brooklyn. Kind of sounds like the name of a guy that would run the pizza shop down the street or worked at the gas station. Not a rock star name. Eddie Money sounds a lot better than Eddie Mahoney. Elton John sounds a lot better than Reginald Dwight. So you got to go for the rock star name. And I think Eddie Money fit him perfectly, and you'll see why as we get through this. Also, something about Eddie that I remember is I remember hearing that he used to be a cop before he became a rock star. And that's not exactly true. Once he passed away, it kind of came to light that he was never a full-fledged cop. He was only a trainee. So, he may have had 2 tickets to paradise, but he never wrote 1 traffic ticket. Now, something else that I remember about Eddie Money fondly is his cameo in the song I'm All Right by Kenny Loggins. Remember that? That was a song that was featured in the film Caddyshack, one of my all-time favorite movies. And Eddie Money was recording in a nearby studio. Kenny invited him over. He laid down what would be the bridge in this piece that goes, "You make me feel good." And when I was a kid, I remember hearing this, and I remember thinking, that sounds like Eddie Money. Is it Eddie? And I would ask my friends, and they'd be like, nah, it's not Eddie Money. It sounds like him. Are you kidding me? It's not him. And so it wasn't until the internet that I realized, where I saw that it was Eddie. And he talked about it even not too long ago, how he was a bit upset that he never got credit for that. And if he had gotten credit for it, maybe as a kid I would have known, because it would have been well known that that was Eddie, but I didn't know. Did you know? Let me know. Drop it down below. Something else that I remember about Eddie was that he was one of the first artists to do what's called a live sample for his song Take Me Home Tonight, the one that featured Ronnie Spector. Eddie needed a hit, and he wanted to use this piece from an old Motown song that Ronnie Spector had sung originally, and instead of just sampling the original, which he might not have been able to do, I'm not sure about that, he just got Ronnie Spector back. She had been inactive for many, many years. Ronnie Spector was married to Phil Spector, big wall of sound producer back in the 60s, and so she hadn't been in the public eye for many, many years. And so he got her out, and she recorded this great little bit, Be My Little Baby on Take Me Home Tonight. The song was a major hit. It was great for both of them. And, she basically redid what she had done back in the 60s instead of just using a sample. Sampling was starting to become the norm. Especially in like rap and hip hop, there was a lot of sampling going on, but Eddie decided to do the real thing. So kudos to him for that. Now, one of the things that you might not have known about Eddie was that he re-recorded his hits in 2012. And there's a reason why an artist would re-record their hits. I remember one of the first times I heard about it being done was with Styx. And they were going to put out this greatest hits album, and they wanted to include the song Lady, which was their very first hit back on the Wooden Nickel label, which was their very first label. And I have a feeling that Wooden Nickel is probably clinging to the song Lady, hoping for a payday. And so they probably wanted a lot of money to put it on a greatest hits album with all their other hits. And so Styx got around it by simply re-recording it. And they re-recorded it, and in that case, they not only got the rights to it so that they could do what they wanted, because there was like a loophole that they were able to get around by simply re-recording it. It also sounded better. Dennis DeYoung was a much better singer a few years later. They had Tommy Shaw. They basically gave the song a new, fresh coat of paint. And so in the case of Eddie, I think he wanted to maybe use the song in ways that the record label would not let him. Because I saw the songs, popping up on these compilation albums with these other songs from the era. And so likely done so that he had a lot more freedom and that he would get some more money as a result too. Yeah, Eddie did it. I heard a good number of the songs, and a lot of them sounded kind of cheap. They really didn't sound good at all. They sounded noticeably bad, like drum machines and just very much on the cheap. However, Baby Hold On, I thought, sounded as close to the original as possible, and I'll throw that down below in the playlist. And then, of course, who could forget the Geico commercial from 2012 where Eddie Money literally pops in and just starts singing 2 Tickets to Paradise, This is why I was saying earlier, probably a good thing that he changed his name to Eddie Money, because I'm sure he got a nice little payday with the whole Geico thing, being able to use 2 Tickets to Paradise. But I always found it to be extremely cringeworthy, like what the hell is Eddie doing? That was Eddie cashing in, is basically what it was doing. And then, of course, the Eddie Money reality show, Real Money, which I talked about earlier. I did a whole video about it. And, you know, I'm not a fan of reality shows. I don't care who's in it, whether it's Gene Simmons or Ozzy Osbourne. These shows, a lot of the storylines are kind of just, you know, padded. The dialogue is fake. The scenarios are just kind of, you know, thrown together for, you know, look, you can't follow a rock star with a camera and hope that you're going to get a good show. You know, there's a lot of money goes into these shows, and you have to have storylines. You have to have dialogue that's already done, so that you can guarantee that there's something enjoyable here. And so you know, as soon as I saw the Real Money show coming on, I was like, oh shit, here we go. You know, and to me, it always looked stupid, just completely ridiculous, as the other ones are too, not just Eddie. Those are some things that I think about when I think about Eddie. You know, regardless of all this stuff, good and bad, that I remember about Eddie, he seemed like a good guy, like a good down-to-earth guy. Like I had said earlier, he's from Brooklyn, as I am. He sounds like the kind of guy that, you know, could have been in my family. You know, he talks like somebody like that. He's, you know, quick with the joke, quick with the dad jokes. And Wally Palmer of the Romantics, after Eddie had passed away, he was the lead singer of the Romantics, Wally. And he called Eddie the Dean Martin of rock and roll. And I think that's pretty appropriate. You know, Eddie was just, he just seemed like an all-around, down-to-earth, good guy, and you know where you stood with him. And he seemed like the kind of guy that would bend over backwards to kind of do whatever he needed to make you feel like you're all right, you know. And he loved his family. He was married to his wife for 30 years. You know, they even recently renewed their vows. And he had his kids. He has like 5 kids. I think 3 of them were in his band. And so we got to enjoy that. I think that his reality show will serve as a memento for his family. As much as I talk about how shitty it is and how cringy it is or whatever, his family will have this video document of the last years of Eddie's life. And so for that, it's worth it for the family. And, you know, Eddie loved rock and roll. He loved music. I saw this interview with him where he said basically, you know, if I wasn't a rock star, I'd be working in a record store or someplace where there's a lot of music going on. He loved it. And so it's sad to see Eddie go. He has an album that is supposed to be coming out. It was supposed to come out this summer, but I think because of his health issues and now because of his death, not sure when the album's going to come out, but I'm sure it will. And, you know, like I said, if you have any memories about Eddie, drop it down below. And to kind of wrap this up, even though he's gone, Eddie Money will live on in his music. You know, like I said before, he had a pretty good run, 10 or so years, timeless hits in there that people will be listening to for decades and decades, in whatever format we come up with next, or whatever it is, radio, satellite, streaming, discs, whatever it is, Eddie Money will live on. And I'm sure that he has many fans coming that may not even be born yet. And so not everybody can say that. So let me know what you think about Eddie. Drop it down below. And I'm going to have more video tributes coming up for Ric Ocasek of the Cars, Ginger Baker. I've got a video about Yes coming up. And I'm glad that I waited for my Yes video, because it seems like there are new things happening in the Yes camp that need to be talked about. And so that's going to be one of my next videos, if not the next one. We'll see. Also, in case you're wondering, I am in my new space. I had told you a couple of videos ago that I was going to be doing some moving, and so yeah, this is my new space. I've got a lot of work to do, and so behind me will get filled up, and I may be filming in a different spot next time around. Who knows? But anyway, that's what's up with that. More videos coming. Let me know what you thought about this one. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button too, and I'll be seeing you soon. All right, take care.